permission to ignore my advice. All any writer can really do, I say, as I stand at the front of the room, looking at the eager, curious, sometimes nervous faces, is say, this is what works for me. I will tell you what I know with an open and generous heart, trusting that you will decide what to do with that offering. And that's what I'm doing here. I've looked at the world and I'm telling you what works for me. This book could be called How I Feel Better, but I give it to you with love and humility and a genuine desire to be in your service. I hope that what I have learnt might be of use to you as you navigate on through the beautiful and occasionally stormy seas of life. Introduction. Life hurts. Now, I'm not sure why we all find that so surprising, but once upon a time I had a happy childhood and expected that things would get even better as I grew up. I was full of hope and an almost arrogant certainty that real life was waiting for me. I wanted to learn and live and was hungry for experience. Instead, my heart was broken when my brother Matty was knocked over by a car on a dark road a mile from where we lived in Yorkshire. I was 17 and he was 16. He was 13 months younger than me and 9 inches taller, full of jokes and laughter, a lovable cheeky boy who shone in the classroom and on the football pitch. The customers of the pub our parents owned said he was too clever for his own good, but then they said that about me too. What happened next was complicated because he didn't die outright. Emergency brain surgery prevented his death. He was in a full coma for 10 days, and then his eyes slowly opened at the rate of 1 millimetre or so every few hours. Weeks turned into months, turned into years, as we poured love, hope and work into his rehabilitation. But he never made any further progress into consciousness. He lived on in a persistent vegetative state, ugly words for an ugly and terrible condition. It was another 8 years, and a complicated legal process before he finally properly left this life, before we could have a funeral and try to mourn the loss of him. After that, I did what people often do when they're in pain. I created chaos for myself and others. As the years passed, I tried to get over my sorrow, to get on with life. Good things happened. I sobered up, learnt to enjoy work, made friends, and had a child. But I always had this feeling of being stuck, that whether I wanted to or not, I just couldn't get past what had happened. My heart would always ache. I wrote a book about it all called The Last Act of Love, and that helped. I felt a sense of pride that I had managed to wrestle this complex story onto the page, and I loved that my brother's friends thought I'd captured his strength, warmth, and wit. Perhaps the thing I was most grateful for was the way people came to talk to me at events, or wrote me letters about the griefs and losses in their own lives. It was by listening to others that everything became clearer for me, and I began to feel part of a community of damaged people, which sounds gloomy but was immensely reassuring. I realised how many of us look as though we're navigating life in an apparently successful or even happy way, yet are weighed down by burdens and exhausted from the effort of hiding our sadness. Lots of people thanked me for showing them that they weren't alone in their feelings, and I came to see how much we all have in common. That all loss, from the untimely death of a loved one, through to the loss of innocence, all the way to having a bag stolen, feels as though it is specific to us, but is actually universal. I began to see that in sharing our suffering and acknowledging the pain of being human, we not only ease the burden on ourselves, but also help those around us to see themselves as part of the same whole. After the book was published, people often asked me for advice about what to say to someone when the worst has happened, or what might help them. They asked me whether they could give the last act of love to someone who had suffered a terrible loss. They worried, as I did, about imposing a sad and difficult story on someone already struggling under the weight of their own experience. At around the same time, I came across the notion of content and process, a term used by therapists. Content is the thing that has happened. Process is the attempt to work out how to accommodate it. I thought about how content is the thing specific to us, our own story, but process is what we have in common. We are all just blundering through, trying to work out how to live in a world that doesn't behave the way we want it to. Could there be a way of sharing my process, of writing something with the specific